Are you down right now? Been kicked in the gut by life? Did the world come around and when everything was working well, suddenly throw you for a loop? It does that sometimes. If everything is going great right now, you gotta know that it won't always be that way. Sorry to be the one to tell you this, but that's how it happens, and it happens to everyone. On top of the world, 1 minute unstoppable, moving at 100 miles an hour, then a brick wall. You're going to get challenges. You're going to run into hard times and difficult situations. Things you never thought would go wrong will go wrong. Things you thought would all work out won't work out. The life you wanted, dreamed about, worked for can disappear. Yeah, things can get very dark very quickly. I don't care who you are. I don't care what safety nets, precautions, and insurances you have. Life has a way of finding that one thing, that one hole in your armor, and piercing it. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get hit. You're going to get beaten up by life. Life's a no-holds-barred game, and right now you're a player in it. If you're happy right now, if you're peaceful, if life is joyful and perfect, and you can't imagine something bad happening, or you think to yourself, I'm in a great place, and nothing's going to rattle it, I got a question for you. What if everything gets worse? What if all the stuff in your life that was part of making you happy went away? What would you do? How would you be? What if you lose your car? What if you lose your house? What if you lose your loved ones? What if the world just keeps taking and taking and taking from you until you don't think you have anything else left to give? For most people, misery ensues, or resignation and depression and defeat. But all of that is to cover up the fear, the anger, the sadness, and the total loss of peace and happiness you once had. You might think that through dogged determination, you'll overcome, grit your teeth, gnarl your way through the hurdles like a savage. Then you're just being miserable with the hope that someday you'll get happy once more. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if regardless of what happened to the outside world, you could still be peaceful and, more times than not, happy? What if the external world didn't have control over what you felt or experienced emotionally? What if your life doesn't have to be held at the whims of external machinations? What if your peace and happiness doesn't have to be decided on whether or not good things happen? What if everything goes wrong? What if everything you've learned to deal with and handle gets worse? But at the end of the day, you can be happier and more at peace than when you started the day. You see, the world and what happens doesn't have to determine how you feel. Your thoughts do that. The world doesn't determine how you react to things. Your thoughts and conditioning do that. The world doesn't have to determine whether or not you are peaceful or happy. Only your ability to accept the world as it is will determine that. There is no easy trick or method to creating happiness and peace in your life. Your brain is trained for survival to suspect the worst in every situation, to respond with fear to every shake of a bush, to remember every pain and letdown and failure so that you hopefully don't repeat the steps again. Your brain doesn't have to work 1 second at being miserable, sad, and depressed. It'll go there all by itself if you let it. But your brain is a muscle, and like a muscle, you can train it, work it, and make it stronger. Some of you listening to this right now are going through the hardest times in your life. There are pains that I can't even begin to imagine that you're suffering through right now. And the first thing for you to remember, the first thing that you have to fully embrace, is that everything that happens, every negative and painful experience, will pass. Nothing will ever stay the same. If you're down and beaten up and you don't see how anything can get better, you have to remember that every night eventually breaks to the dawn, just as every bright day eventually goes to darkness. You have to embrace this truth. It is the greatest grace in the world. Whatever you're going through, whatever trouble or pain or loss or hurt or suffering or anything that is happening, it will pass. Understanding and accepting this truth will keep you going when all you want to do is quit. The next thing you have to remember, the next thing you must condition your mind to do, is to examine your thoughts about what is happening. If you're defining every pain, every loss, every mistake, every problem, as a mistake, as a loss, as a pain, then you create a story for those things. You see, everything that happens in life is an illusion, which is not to say it's not happening, or that the pain you feel, the loss you suffer, the mistakes you make don't affect things or aren't happening or aren't real. It's that they are not what you think they are. It's that words like pain, misery, loss, defeat come with their own stories, with their own narratives, and with your experiences. It's that every act of defining and labeling leaves openings to suffering. Instead, train your mind to see things for what they are and look for answers to solve what is happening. Everything doesn't have to be a problem that you need to solve. There doesn't have to be hurdles you need to jump over. There doesn't have to be fights that you need to have. Those are just stories and fictions that you create because to face reality as it is can be scary. To accept the world and accept what is happening, to let go of the need to define anything, to rein in your thoughts and look at things clearly, is to free yourself from grief and struggle and strife. And it's to open you up to the final thing you can do, which is to not resist life. You go around thinking that you can control life, that if you do a certain thing and take a certain action, that you're guaranteed a certain result. But that's not how life works. So then came the rise of goal achievement, or hustle until you die. Just outwork every human being alive and then you will succeed. But that's a lie. Life's going to unfold exactly as it wants to unfold. Things are going to happen that no amount of hard work or effort will prevent. Things are going to happen that you can't change or work your way out of. Things are going to happen. But if you accept them, you can see them clearly for what they are and what is happening. And when you see it clearly, without trying to define it, without giving it a story, then you can actually do something about it. But what you find when you're not resisting life, when you're not defining everything that happens in life as good or bad, right or wrong, problems or solutions, is that nothing much changes in what you get done. No, in fact, if anything, what gets done is more than what you would ever usually do. Because when you are no longer bringing all the baggage you have to the table, everything that happens just becomes another thing for you to do in your schedule. No different than waking up in the morning, brushing your teeth, and getting dressed. Just something else for you to get done, to figure out, to complete. And when that's the case, when you have successfully accepted that everything in life is transient and will pass, when you accept things in life without defining them, giving them meaning and story and bringing all your baggage with it, and when you stop turning everything that happens that you don't want to happen into an obstacle, a problem, a misery, a sorrow, but just look at it for another thing for you to do that day, then every day is a day of peace and happiness, and life's too long to be anything but happy and peaceful.